Picture your perfect evening. You arrive home. The lights turn on automatically. Your favorite playlist begins without you touching a single button. You order dinner with 3 taps on your phone. It arrives in 28 minutes. No conversation, no eye contact, just a notification and a bag at your door. You scroll through perfectly curated content. You laugh at memes. You watch lives unfold on screens. You feel connected. Or do you? Here's the paradox we're unfolding today. We live in the most convenient era in human history. Yet loneliness has become a global epidemic. Why does peak comfort feel like a biological prison? At Reason Unfolded, we believe the answer lies not in your choices, but in the invisible architecture that shapes them. Let's trace the blueprint of modern isolation. Your brain was not designed for efficiency. It was designed for survival. And for 300,000 years, survival meant one thing above all: belonging to a group. Deep in your limbic system sits the amygdala. This almond-shaped cluster of neurons acts as your social smoke detector. It scans your environment constantly for signs of connection or isolation. When you're part of a community, when you experience face-to-face warmth, your amygdala registers safety. It signals your body to release oxytocin, the neurochemical of trust and bonding. Oxytocin works slowly. It builds over repeated mundane interactions. The barista who remembers your order, the neighbor who nods hello, the friend who sits with you in comfortable silence. But modern life has replaced this slow oxytocin with fast dopamine. Dopamine is the neurochemical of novelty and reward. It spikes when you get a notification, a like, a food delivery. Dopamine feels good, but it doesn't signal safety to your amygdala. Your ancient social hardware can't tell the difference between efficient isolation and actual danger. So your body responds the way it always has. It floods you with cortisol, the stress hormone. It raises your heart rate. It prepares you for a threat that never arrives. This is the invisible tax of convenience. Your conscious mind enjoys the comfort, but your unconscious brain interprets it as abandonment. And over time, that contradiction becomes unbearable. Let's zoom out from the brain to the environment, because loneliness isn't just a feeling, it's a design problem. Sociologist Ray Oldenburg identified what he called third places. Not home, not work, but the informal spaces where community naturally forms. Coffee shops, libraries, parks, barbershops. These weren't designed for connection, they were just designed for friction. You had to walk there, wait in line, exchange small talk with strangers. These micro-interactions weren't meaningful, but they were essential. Your brain needs what we call micro-doses of belonging. Brief, low-stakes moments where you're seen, acknowledged, and included. These moments don't demand emotional labor. They just remind your amygdala you're not alone. But efficiency culture has systematically deleted these moments. Why walk to a store when you can order online? Why chat with a cashier when you can use self-checkout? Why risk awkward small talk when you can text? We've optimized our way into isolation. Every friction point we remove is a potential connection point we lose. The algorithm doesn't know this. It only knows what you click. And here's the cruel irony. The more isolated you feel, the more you retreat into convenience. The more you retreat, the fewer micro-doses you receive. The cycle deepens. This isn't your failure. This is structural. We've built a world that makes connection optional. And when connection becomes optional, loneliness becomes inevitable. So we turn to the screen. It promises us connection without risk, community without effort, belonging at the speed of light. And it delivers something: dopamine, distraction, the illusion of presence. But here's what neuroscience reveals. Your brain cannot download belonging. Presence requires what researchers call embodied synchrony. Breathing in the same room, reading micro-expressions, feeling the warmth of shared space. These are analog experiences. They cannot be digitized. When you video call a friend, you see them, but your mirror neurons, the parts of your brain that create empathy through imitation, receive incomplete data, the lag. the framing, the absence of peripheral vision. Your conscious mind thinks, this is good enough. But your unconscious social hardware registers something else. This person is not here. And if they're not here, I am alone. Social media amplifies this disconnect. You scroll through lives that look full, parties, trips, laughter. Your amygdala processes these images as evidence. Everyone else has a tribe. You don't. This is called compare and despair, but it's worse than simple envy. It's your brain misinterpreting curated performance as proof of your isolation. The screen becomes a mirror that only reflects what you lack. The truth we're unfolding is this: digital connection is a mirage. It gives your mind something to focus on, but it leaves your social heart starving. Take a moment. Reflect on the last time you felt truly seen. Not liked, not followed, seen. So what do we do with this knowledge? We begin by rejecting the premise that efficiency equals progress. Connection lives in friction, in the unplanned, in the slightly inconvenient. These aren't bugs in the system, they're features of being human. Start with what we call intentional inefficiency. Choose the longer walk. Go to the physical bookstore. Wait in line at the coffee shop instead of ordering ahead. These choices won't feel revolutionary. You probably won't have deep conversations, but your amygdala will register something crucial. I'm in the world. I'm part of a system. I'm not invisible. Neuroscience calls this ambient belonging. You don't need close friends in every room. You just need your brain to know you're not the only human left on Earth. Second, cultivate what psychologists call weak ties. The regular at your gym, the person you see walking their dog, the cashier who recognizes your face. Research shows weak ties are powerful predictors of well-being, not because they provide deep support, but because they provide proof you exist in other people's worlds. Third, choose presence over performance. When you're with someone, close the loop on your phone. Let your mirror neurons do what they were designed to do: sync, reflect, connect. This won't be comfortable at first. You've been trained to fear boredom, to optimize every second, but connection doesn't happen in optimized seconds. It happens in the pauses. Finally, understand this: breaking the comfort trap isn't about rejecting technology, it's about reclaiming your social architecture. You can use delivery apps and still go to farmers markets. You can text friends and still show up at their door. The goal isn't purity, it's balance. Because here's what we've unfolded today. Loneliness isn't a personal failing. It's a predictable response to an environment that deleted the micro-architecture of connection. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do: sound the alarm when your tribe disappears. The solution isn't to ignore that alarm, it's to rebuild the tribe. Not a massive community, not a social media following, just a handful of micro-doses. The barista, the neighbor, the stranger who held the door. At Reason Unfolded, we believe understanding changes everything. Now you know why comfort feels like a cage. Now you can choose the friction that sets you free. So here's our question for you. When was the last time a small, unplanned interaction with a stranger actually made your day feel better? Share your story in the comments. And if this resonated, consider joining our community of curious minds. We unfold the hidden reasons together.